Anyway, as per our conversation, thanks for doing this. I very much appreciate that you're willing to throw out a little testimonial and talk about your experience. It's something that I've been wanting to chat with you about probably since about, I want to say, around your 6 month anniversary when I realized you were like really doing well. And we were
Mhm.
overcoming like kind of the ebbs and flows that happen. I wanted to do this, so it's very long overdue. So I'm excited to do it. So I'm organized. I have five questions for you to kind of guide and like frame our discussion in a way. So what I wanted to preface and just kind of initially start with is that we just the fact that we have never met in person, and
Mhm.
yet this program has been very, very, very successful for you. And I think that probably circa COVID, a lot of people are kind of interacting and maybe providing a service or even friendships or whatever have formed in this manner. So I find it kind of interesting because it has been very effective for you despite the fact that it's all completely online.
Yeah, totally. And I was really surprised how much this works for me. Like, it's so nice that I don't have to leave the house, and that everything is within reach, and you're very flexible and available all the time. So it just makes it super easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's still so new for me because you were one of the first people that I was willing to take on in my maternity leave as the version that I've created for myself. And so it was a big question in my mind as well. I knew that my current clients were having success with this format because when you came around, we had been doing this really a short time because we were forced into it. And then a bunch of my clients just went, you know what? This is actually for all these different reasons. We were starting to notice aspects of this that were actually better than traditionally training in person at the gym the way that we did. And we were starting to have a bit of a hybrid program, but the clients that came to the gym in person were not even really, I would say, too open minded to doing online stuff because, like, there was nothing broken with the in person service. It was wonderful. Everybody loved it. But from my perspective as a kinesiologist, thinking, man, if I could just get you though to like do 5 or 10 or 15 minutes of like mobility work on the days you don't come to the gym, science, like think about how much better you would be and how much more you would get from this investment coming in person, right? And so
Yeah.
now it's kind of just sort of a non issue because people digest these resources in such a different way. And my coaching ability has completely transformed to my amazement. And so I'm still sort of wrapping my feet around the fact that you've had so much success, and I always want to thank you and have to thank you because you've shown up and done the work. I know that it works, and without like the privilege of having you show up and the opportunity to coach you and have you show up here, I would never be able to test this format and see if it was going to be or could be as successful as it is. And since you and learning that it can work if people, are interacting with it in a way that you do, I've taken on now several women that are also doing well that I've never met, but I
Yeah.
feel like I have a fantastic rapport and relationship with them, the same as if I saw you in person, I would feel like we always see each other in person. So it's super
Yeah.
interesting because obviously technology provides limitations, but you've been able to even like you go often to Calgary and then to BC and then back to Winnipeg. And so you always show up in the 9:30 Central Winnipeg time zone time, but sometimes it's 8:30 or 7:30 for you and you still make it happen, which is like another really cool thing about traditionally, if people weren't going to come to the gym or couldn't make it to the gym, they wouldn't do their workout. And now, regardless of all these different barriers that are set up in front of you and unplanned and whatever, you can always take this with you. And so that's this massive, amazing thing as well to kind of watch. Oh, wait a minute. This actually is so much better, even not from the basic things, but things like that as well.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, all you actually need is is your phone.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe like, a couple of bands or something. Like when I travel around, all I take with me is that little basket right there,
Yeah.
and it's got three bands, it's got one ball, and so it's a traveling gym because so many of your exercises, that's enough,
Yeah.
right, just to get a full workout in.
Yeah.
And I was actually really surprised. I kind of thought, when I first signed up, like, how is she going to be able to coach me if she's, on Zoom and I'm here? But I've been really surprised how well it works. Like, you can see me and you're really good at telling me, okay, move your knee, move your hip this way, line those up. I can tell that you're not breathing. I have good breathing. And I'm like, how does she know I'm breathing or not breathing? But you can see it. Like, the Zoom seems to work. You're catching all of that stuff. So yeah, like, I'm getting the corrections that I need, and I'm getting you see what's going on, even though it's Zoom. So that really surprised me, and I'm glad.
Yeah, and to that point, let's dive in a little bit too. So you're a gold member, so you like are investing all of that's as much as you can invest online, and to get, all the different pieces that come along with the service. But Zoom community training in particular is what you're talking about now. So for anybody who is watching this going, oh, okay, let's kind of identify a little bit about what that means. So you log into Zoom, and then you log into our library, and then we select a workout. You do the workout, and then I'm also watching on Zoom through another application, and it also gives you like a mirror essentially, because your camera is on. And so I watch you go through the workout every step of the way. So what about that process comparative to just showing up and just using the library on your own without me watching you? Talk to me about how the Zoom community piece and having me there coaching you, like that a little bit more of an investment, but talk to me about how you feel that's contributed to your success overall.
Well, 100% is the accountability. Like, I know that you're going to be there, and we have this, time, and we have to meet. So that gets me going. And because you're watching me, I know I can't slack off and I can't quit. Like, whatever psychological thing is, telling me to dog it a little bit, or, oh, I'm tired, it'll be okay if I just like skip a set. Like, no, I don't. Like, I do it all because you're there. And maybe there's even like a little bit of me that's like, look what I can do. She's watching. Maybe she'll notice, like, that I'm doing really good this time. And half the time you do actually say, like, oh, good energy. I see that.
Totally.
Yeah, no, if I was left on my own, I don't know if I would do it as much as I do.
I love that. Yeah, it's interesting because we have several silver members that, we primarily communicate through text, and they book independent sessions, so oftentimes, so that I know what time of day they're working out, and so I can text them and check in. And oftentimes they've pushed it to another time of day, or they're doing it at a different time, but they're able to log in, although they do talk about that lack of accountability in that way. I mean, there's nothing can really beat having that person there in real time. And so I think that it just depends kind of how you operate and function as a human. But there are many people like you that also, need knowing that a coach's eyes on you is a big factor in terms of actually working hard enough. And I wouldn't have known that. I'm not thinking about my training or programming from that perspective, right? Like, I'm showing up with what's in my brain and the programming and how, coaching and guiding you and watching you. I can't think as much about how you're experiencing it, because everyone experiences it so differently. So it's so valuable to hear that from you, that like that this is actually like these Zoom community trainings are like essential and critical for you. Like your sister the other day was like, no, she needs Angie. She can't go to YouTube, because someone was like, why don't you do free YouTube workouts? And you were like, no.
Well, and I just want to compare that for a second to like P90X. Like, that's what I used to do. And, I was pretty good. I was feeling motivated, and I would show up and I'd turn on P90X, and I would do it consistently. But the difference is I didn't have your feedback about how that was affecting my body.
Yes.
And I would just simply do what I thought I felt like doing, and my back wasn't getting any better. My, legs might have been feeling this way or that way, or I might have done a big bicycle thing the day before, and it wasn't the right workout to do based on what else I was doing that week. And so like, I wasn't getting any better. My chronic pain wasn't getting any better. You come along and we talk about how does that workout feel, and how does it work with everything else that's going on in my life. And then I can make progress because I've got your insight. your personalized insight about what the heck is going on with me and my body and my life, and I can make progress with that. Whereas, P90X, I think I might have actually just been hurting myself a little bit more. Yeah, because like there's nobody's telling me like how that's going to affect my herniated discs. Nobody's telling me, how to modify for whatever's going on, including mental stuff, right? Like depression, anxiety kicks in sometimes, and that's another thing that you modify and accommodate for. So yeah, that all leads to success.
Yeah. Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's shift a little bit and talk about if you look at the video resources and our page of resources that you can access when you log in, which resource area do you think that you find most valuable?
Okay, so members area video resources, and you're asking me about which on these?
Yeah,
like the mini mobility, well, the strong series, mini mobility, and you had a different one that was like about basics before. I forget what it was called. Maybe it was the PAM program. But those were all very good, especially, the mini mobility is excellent. Like sometimes I just don't have time or energy for something, and a 10-minute something is still something, right?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I think it's important for people to know too that like I get lots of questions about like, well, what makes your program different from other programs? And because it has kind of come together by accident, but also I feel on purpose through just the universe guiding us in this way, it's like, how do I explain the full offering of what our program offers? And I think because we look at movement not as workouts, but we take it from the basics of science. So in your video resources, there's a breathwork channel, there's a mini mobility channel with short workouts, right? We have full programs where that's where we really start to dive in and fill out our templates and choose from strength, conditioning, kin stretch, whatever it is that you need. So there's a diverse way of participating depending on what your goal is, and your goal changes seasonally because of where we live as well. But I would say you might be in that mini mobility series almost as much as you are in your regular programming that we're using to train and get your body to the capacity in terms of strength and conditioning for your goals and what you want to do in life. But we spend a lot of time just treating areas of your body. And so we'll pull out of our programming and pause and go, okay, we need to address this first because my back is really upset because of preparing for this garage sale, that was kind of the last example, other than your elbow yesterday. But preparing for that, you showed up and we might have thrown you through your regular, conditioning that was next on the list, but we took a pause and we treated what was going on with the low back. So I feel as though, and the reason I wanted to spend a couple minutes, getting your feedback on is that I feel as though a lot of other online programs are very linear. So you show up and this is what's planned for that day. But in our program, I have no idea what people are going to end up doing because I have to apply science to life and what people are doing. So you could do 28 workouts in 30 days and we have that option, but we also pause and we treat more than we train. And so for you in particular, I feel like you would give some good insight in terms of how you feel that's contributed to your success overall as well.
Well, and how many times have I shown up and said, I did a 15K hike, yesterday. And so now my back is kind of screaming at me. So, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe let's not do a strength, today. Let's focus on rolling and activating those muscles. And then the next day, I'm feeling better because I'm anticipating being laid up or stiff or sore. And then you treat my my back. Same thing with bike rides. I'll go on some crazy 20, 30, 40, 50K bike ride or something like that, tell you about it the next day. And then, you give me something to treat that so that it doesn't, stop me or prevent me from continuing to move forward. And then the other good thing about those mini mobility sessions is now I have, like, because they're only 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes long. Now I have in my head a 7, 8, 10 minute workout that I've done all on my own, in a hotel room or at my sister's house or in a parking lot, because I just need to have that little black ball. You can't really see it, the little black diamond ball. And like, if I have it with me, then I can do an entire roll session based on what I've learned from mini mobility. And it takes me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, wherever I am. And then my back doesn't hurt for the rest of the day after I've done, a bike ride or something.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love that our program has gone in that direction, and it came from just need from members showing up and noting, like, you know what, I really want to do this workout, but this is happening. And typically when I would meet people in the gym, I would just treat it on the spot. So for me, creatively and pivoting, I was like, I need to find a way to be able to treat people effectively, but taking a generalized format and being able to dice it up and apply it in different ways to different people at different times. So that just came in. Bart Flesack, actually, getting him to do longer mobility classes that were 30 minutes became really challenging. And that was kind of, I had heard it maybe a handful of times since we were, working off of these program templates. And I just said, I have to figure out how I can solve this for him. And then that whole channel was born. And now I would say almost every member is using it all the time. So part of what I love about our resources is that they exist because people requested them. And so it's my intuition that might be why it's so effective. Like, I didn't just come up with the idea to put that up one day. It was someone needed it. So I was like, if he needs it, others need it. And now everybody's using it. And I'm just like, the beauty of community, like, wow, that is so neat. So I think it's cool to note, and for other people to know if they're interested in spending a little bit of money and hiring a trainer and having, even my in-person option coming up or exclusively online, we offer a very, very fluid program where there's a plan and there's a prescription, but we're very flexible in terms of what we actually spend our time, moving with and talking about, right? It usually always ends up, being not what we intended. And I want people to know that it's okay to be flexible with your movement and with your wellness. It's as long as you're doing 7 minutes of shoulder mobility and you didn't do your 30-minute conditioning session that was planned, it doesn't mean that you failed, actually. It means that you applied kinesthetic science in a very smart way, and you're going to be better in the long run for it. But for me to kind of bring that up and help people understand that, I feel I need a living example such as your story to really have people, maybe anyone listening to this now might be like, that's true, I don't need an hour to do a workout or even 30 minutes. I could do the job in like 5 to 10. Like, that actually makes doing a little something every day more manageable. Thank you for that. So I hope people hear that and like just are converted, because I feel that people have this idea of what working out means and what fitness means and what being fit means. And I feel like once they get started in our program, they start to open up and realize that it can be like something way different and beautiful than the expectation of what they have in their head and this idea that they're kind of chasing after. Like, that doesn't actually have to exist for you. Like, I don't even know if that serves you. And further, where did the idea come from originally? And let's spend some time talking about that and kind of debunking it and showing you that it doesn't have to be true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I used to think that the only way for me to get like a workout that like counts is to go to the gym and run on the treadmill for 30 to 45 minutes and work up a really good sweat. And I had to run for a minimum of, at a certain speed for a certain amount of time. Or the only way that I could, get a good strength training session in is to go to the gym and use the equipment, the heavy equipment, the bars, with the heavy weights and stuff. But your 20-minute conditioning sessions are perfect. You have me moving in different ways and different directions, which is actually really good for joints and the places where muscle connects to your joints. All of those are getting a variety of exposure to movement, and that has been really beneficial, even though it's only 20 minutes. But it's an excellent 20 minutes that I know is helping my body a lot. And the strength training sessions that you've got, it's amazing what you can do with a couple of dumbbells on the floor. Yeah, like you don't need, a bench and a bar and 45-pound plates. You don't need that to get a really good strength training session.
Yeah, no, no, not at all. And I mean, for anyone who that's how they want to go and get their movement and their fit and their strength on, that's also perfect for the people that that works for. But there are a whole lot of people that sort of feel like, and here, of course, I apologize, my extreme reaction where I'm like pulling my hair out as you were talking about the treadmill, because I think that is such a valuable point that most people probably would agree with you on, is like, yeah, fitness for me, or being healthy to me from a movement perspective, looks like this. And because they have this idea in their head that they know that right now in their life they can't get to that place, they don't do anything. But it's like, wow, there's like a million miles between that place and my program, right? Like there's all this free movement and joy, and it just, there's so much that you can do if you just reroute and apply yourself in this way and try this to find successes in different ways. So I love this conversation because I think it's super valuable for people to hear that. Like,
and I'd try to like get back into it. So I'd go to the gym, and then I'd hop on the treadmill, and then I'd like hurt myself because I don't know, I'd run too hard or something, and then I'd end up with a bit of bursitis in my heel, or I'd end up with a little bit of plantar fasciitis, and like that does nobody any good at all.
Right. So when you were trying to accomplish just doing something that you thought was good for you, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like redefining what's good for me
yes.
is something that you've given me for sure. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think it's interesting because people, one thing that came up the other day, and I had this thought many years ago when I first started, and like when I'm sitting in uni having all these aha moments, is that we did not have kinesiology as part of our base K-12 education. And so I feel very strongly as though that might be why I have a job today, is that unfortunately you went through your entire education without learning where your muscles connect and all these things about movement that could be so valuable for you. So that's really where I find that I do a lot on my support calls. When our community books the support calls, I'm often reminding them about the science of their body. So it's like, well, I went and I did this, and it's like, okay, that was a great idea to do that. I love where the motivation and the drive and the willingness to do something came in, but let's talk about how your body just wasn't yet prepared for the overload of running on that treadmill at that speed, at that time of day, maybe with some other factors surrounding that particular bout of movement. And let's prescribe you a whole bunch of preparatory stuff to prepare you if going and running on the treadmill is something you enjoy. That's very important. If you like it, let's prepare you to do it. That's what you should have. If you want to do it, you can do it. But let's look at the baseline of where your body is and apply all of the sciences to you specifically, and then we can get you there, right? And avoid the injuries and what have you. So, I mean, because you didn't learn this stuff, like, I know it all and love it all, and I'm so passionate about it. So if people are willing to show up as you do, I'm really confident after your experience and so many others since you that people can have real success just having the opportunity to sit with a kinesiologist and just learn about their bodies. It's very empowering for the future and the things that you want to do after this time that we spend together.
Well, and like the showing up part too, I have something to say about that as well, because there have been significant breaks right in my training with you where life has gotten in the way, right, or mental health has come crashing in. COVID happened, and so there's these periods of times when I just like I can't do this today, but you were always there. You're always checking in on me and encouraging me, like, hey, like, maybe you can't do this today, but can we get in like 7 minutes of shoulders or whatever it is, right? Just to kind of like keep it going until I'm ready to like come back to it. So yeah, like sometimes I can't show up, but yet you're still there and you still connect it and you still work that in so that when I'm ready to come show up with more, more gusto, more energy, I can, because I haven't, completely stopped. So
yeah. Well, and I really appreciate you bringing that up and mentioning it, because I hadn't thought of that either. And I have a couple, there's obviously so many triggers that go on in my mind, and I want to reroute and take the conversation in any different direction. But I had a very, very valuable coaching call with a member who used to train with me in person. I want to say she's been with me for 7 years. And a lot of the conversation was, initially when we chat, she's always checking in, about the movement stuff specifically, but I'm always showing up just as a fellow human. I'm a coach, but I'm also a human. And so oftentimes I'm reminding people that they need to give themselves grace, and they need to, just kind of pull back and use our video resources in an exploratory way that is not so linear. Because she'll still get in this habit of thinking like, I have to show up and do this, and like sort of like the robot way of thinking that fitness is, I'm going to go to this class, and then I'm going to go to this class, and I'm going to do this as it is set. Like, we can, mix up all that stuff and make it serve you in this day because of this factor and that factor. And, we have members who are showing up and taking their camera off and breastfeeding their babies and putting their babies on the floor and continue. Like, we're just kind of in the thick of life. And so part of that investment from a coaching perspective is having a coach on the other side who, because you're still invested in my program, even though you can't show up in the capacity that's ideal for you or what the goal is, there's still that connection and that opportunity for love and learning, and, reminding you that, you're not going to do your full workout today. Things are crazy, but that's why we have these other resources that you can come in and take advantage of. And I want you to remind yourself that you're not a robot, that you're a human. And I don't know how to pull that part out of my coaching. I spend most of my time on, which is why I started my psychology degree, was because I'm a kinesiologist prescribing movement, but I spend most of my time just teaching people how to treat themselves the way that they would treat someone in their life that they adore. I like to say now, how would you treat your grandma? If your grandma missed her workout, would you treat her that way? The way that you're saying that to yourself in that way? What would you say to her? Oh my God, I would never say that to her. Well, why do you say it to yourself? Like, let's just take a second here. Let's just decompress. And you are going to have ebb and flows, but overall the investment, that's why it's set up the way it's set up. Because if we look at the entire year, I hope that your life is like 2 or 3% better.
Oh, yeah.
Just by the overall interaction. But the more that you show up, maybe it's going to be 10% better, 20% better. I'm not sure. It depends how much you show up. But I think it's very important that, yes, I'm a human, and yes, grace comes first. Or I was going to start that by saying, yes, I'm a kinesiologist and your coach, and I should be tracking your baseline and tracking your goals and getting you to fill out this log, but I'm a human. So oftentimes we're going to spend our time talking about the anxiety or, all these other different things that I want you to consider as you think about the overall investment in this program, right? It's not just workouts, actually. It's all this other stuff that can support you as well.
Yeah, sometimes showing up means drinking your water that day.
Totally. Yes, that's a good point.
And
Yes.
like some of the, my sister tells me that I'm moving a lot better now than I used to.
I like
And I know
that.
I am too. Like, just getting up out of chairs and going down onto the ground, and then during workouts, like, you have to flip or change positions.
Yes.
I can do that a lot easier now than I could before.
Right. This is a perfect lead in to my next question. So I wanted to ask you specifically, how would you compare you as Jamie before you joined this program and started this coaching, and how you are now? Because you've been over a year. I have to look do you know your anniversary date when you joined? I don't remember which month, but it's been over a year.
I don't know.
Just made a
I don't know.
dreadful face.
I'm not
Okay.
sure. But yeah, it's over a year, maybe a year and a half, right?
Yeah. Okay. So talk to me about that. How would you compare Jamie before and Jamie now?
I was in a lot of pain when I came to you. Basic movements hurt. Getting up in the morning, going down the stairs in the morning hurt. Using the bathroom and all the different bending and ways that you have to do that hurt. Sitting down, getting up hurt. Bending down to putting on my clothes in the morning hurt. And now I don't even think about that stuff. Like, you've given me movement, mobility back when I was at a position where I didn't have that. So that's like the most important change, is now I'm like, oh, I can do things. Like, I don't have the mobility restrictions that I did before.
I love it.
And it's the first time that something's actually worked as well. Like, I've had this back injury for 15 years. And I've always kind of, like, I know that moving is better than not moving. But the difference is how to move when you have that kind of back injury. And I didn't know how to do that before. So I was moving and then I'd be sore, and then I'd move and then I'd be sore. But now I don't have that soreness anymore. So I can move whatever way I want. if that makes sense. I don't have to worry about, oh, I'm going to be sore for a couple of days, so I can go bike riding one day and then I have to like not do stuff for a couple of days. So that's not hindering me anymore, if that makes sense. And yeah, it's just really nice to get out of bed in the morning. And of course, like, I still feel something in the morning because it's chronic. It's, who knows if it's ever going to completely go away, but it's nothing like it was, a year ago. Not even close. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope that we can completely get rid of it, but I'm so happy to hear you, because I know you're better because you just are better all the time. But to be reminded of a couple of the things that you said, that's really powerful. And I'm so, like, thank you for showing up. Like, you've done all the work. Of course, I'm always here on the other end, but I mean, it's hard for you. You have to do it all. So I mean, the credit is all to you. You really made a commitment, and I really have to, it's very impressive what you've overcome while going through this. Like, when we started, this seems like a long time ago already, but when we started, you were in the thick of completing your master's program, and like, functioning was very challenging. Like, I wasn't thinking specifically from all the pain stuff, but I think a lot about, I feel like from my perspective, you show up like lighter and happier, and like, you're in your chair and you're like, what should we do? Like, I'm like, well, how are you feeling? And more recently, as you've been really consistent in this last couple of months, it's been, well, I can do anything, I feel great. And when you first started, it was like, how limited were our options, which was perfectly okay for where you were. We went day by day. You worked on mobility for, I want to say I would have to look back at my notes, but I want to say you did mobility for at least 6 months before we ever touched a strength or conditioning program. Like, there was so much rehabilitation to do, and teaching you what happens when I tuck my rib cage or flare it? What happens when I tuck my pelvis under and I flare it? Okay, what muscles do these? Where does this connect? How do I treat this? What happens when this feels this way? Like, that was our first 6 months, right? And just dealing with how going out and doing the things you wanted to do impacted your body as well. And, figuring out what dose of what works, how much of this works, how much do we need this, how much of this do we need, and playing around with that, right? But I feel like now overall your function is through the roof. You're much less heavy from an emotional perspective. You show up light and happy, and things were really heavy and like hard when we first started. And I was just like, keep showing up, girl, trust me, if you just show up every day, I promise you, I know that I haven't done this online thing for very long, but I am so confident I can help you. And like, as you did, and here we are. And it's really a wonderful continuing success story. Like, I tell people about you all the time because it's so inspiring. It's hard to come from the place that you were, and people really need to see that if they're very sedentary and they're in so much pain and they're like, oh, there's no hope for me, like, everybody just go on without me, I'll sit here. Like, no, like, you can be in a level of fitness and wellness with your body and learn and put the time in, not only financially, but physically put that time in, and really treat yourself within 6 months to a year and a half. Like, it might seem like a long time, but like I always tell people, how long did it take you to get into the situation you're in? Like, it's gonna take a while to get out of the pool once you get into the deep end and you're trying to figure it out. Like, your tissues are tense and there's a lot of work to do. So if you just show up, please, I'll show up so passionately and with so much ambition for you, but if you're not on the other end, I can't do my job. So I can bring you the value, but I need you to sit and be here and do the things, and you've done it in just such an impressive, motivational way. It's so inspiring to me and will inspire so many other people as you continue and go.
Yeah. No, thanks. That means a lot. And what was I gonna say too, just about like showing up, because like how hard that was for me like a year ago, just like moving was so hard. And like before I met you, I'd be like I'd be hard on myself. I'd be like, okay, you have to like get out of this rut, pull yourself out of this rut, pull up your bootstraps, right? And get out there and go for a walk and go for a jog and pull your bike out and go, and it wouldn't feel good. I'd go for a run and it just felt like more of a struggle. And then I would come home with like, bursitis or something. So yeah, like I really needed to be told what to do.
Yeah.
I needed the guidance.
Yeah.
And I needed to be assured that it's okay, that I'm not pounding out 30 minutes on a treadmill. That's okay. Like I'm still making progress, and it's a safe and healthier way to approach things. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, well, that leads me perfectly again, and you're just giving me beautiful segues. So I have one more question. So what would you want anyone who identifies with how you described yourself before this program and where you were at, and someone sitting going, oh my gosh, that's me, I feel that way. What would you want them to know kind of about this experience? What would you share with them if you met them on the street and they were kind of describing what you used to experience? What would you want them to know about our program or just in general?
Just how incredibly inclusive you are of so many different aspects of that. Like I always separated working out from physiotherapy, from chiropractic, and different people do different things. And it's up to me to make it all like figure it out and make it all come together. But this is like being with you and part of your program. It's the first time where someone has taken those perspectives and included it into my workout. And, like you take the feedback from the massage therapist, and I tell you like, what we're working on, and as well as my trips to the physiotherapist, and you somehow incorporate that into the working out, so that those sessions actually have more value as well, because you're applying what they're doing to my workouts too. What would I tell somebody though? I guess just like how you bring all of that together. It's very, very valuable. And and the result is better movement and overall better health. Which is like the fundamental, the basics. That was the name of that workout that used to do fundamentals. That was the name of it.
Our fundamentals program.
The fundamental course. Yeah. So like you gotta have your fundamentals in place. And like you make sure that the fundamentals are in place from which everything else can go forward from.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, there should be, and for anyone who's listening to this as well, like if you are working with someone who is educated in kinesiology, they most definitely should be that wellness advocate and capable of and have taken the courses and have the knowledge to help you put all those things together and navigate. Like our specific area of study is movement of humans. Kinesiology is the study of human movement. So anything related to your movement, which is basically everything from I need to be, able to coach you on everything from rolling out of bed in the morning to everything that happens with you until you lay back down at the end of the day. So there's a lot of stuff in there. But if you're working with a kinesiologist who has the education, they should most definitely be able to address that depending on how, their programming operates. But it certainly just kind of comes along with hiring a kinesiologist and hiring a trainer. So I think there are a lot of people who because they don't know that, they might see, someone who, kind of looks fit or looks the part and hands them a business card and says, I'm a personal trainer. So my thing is always, or my piece of advice for people who don't know, is that information is power. And so you want to hire someone who charges a little bit of money so that you know that they're charging because they've spent, I'm almost 20 years deep in studying human movement, and I charge you what I charge you so that you don't have to study all that stuff because I do it for you. And then I can help you navigate all of that. And so I think if people have all of these different practitioners, it's a very wise idea to have a kinesiologist in the center of that to help you sort of look around the room and navigate everything. Because you're right, I know that, but I haven't heard it in that way in a long time, is that is also a challenging thing for people to navigate all of those different practitioners and know, okay, who's supposed to do this for me? And oftentimes people have 3 or 4 different practitioners, but they're not getting any better. And so it's very challenging. Like, hire a kinesiologist that can help you navigate the waters. Like, thank you for saying that. That's a very, very good point that's not the first, point of value that I feel I would bring someone. So I wouldn't say that first, but that might be actually a critically important point for people to understand, is that as a kinesiologist, that's our job. So hiring a personal trainer, anyone can be a personal trainer. We're not regulated. There's no, area that, there's no law that says that someone who likes fitness can't make a living and charge what I charge for being a personal trainer, but have never taken a human sciences course and know, all of the things they need to know to help you navigate those things. So just knowing, I didn't feel like this conversation would go to that point, but it's a very good point. You should know who you're hiring, right? Like, if it's not going to be me and it's going to be someone else that you're hiring to help you, just peek at their testimonials and peek at their credentials and their years of experience and ask questions rather than just, oh, you're a fitness trainer, you're fit, you can help me. Like, not necessarily, right? Just make sure that if you're going to invest good money and time and you have been frustrated and you've been in pain for a long time, hire a kinesiologist. That would be my best advice. Like, personal trainer is not something you want to look for. You want to look for a kinesiologist for sure.
I think so, because like for a long time I was like, I guess I can go to massage therapy because I feel better after my massage, but like I never felt like I was getting better. It wasn't actually like helping fix anything. But now my massage therapy sessions are more valuable because we incorporate them into the workout. And so, because you're a kinesiologist, you're able to do that. And so I'm getting twice the benefit now that I was before.
Yay. Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because kinesiology is relatively new. Like, when I did my degree, we used to joke around in our student association meetings and in classes and just in the building overall that, when we would say like, oh, we're studying kinesiology, they would be like, what's that? Kinesa what? Like, people aren't, it's not a common term even still yet. I think, over the last 10 years, we've made strides in progress, but I think it's a valuable thing to spend a couple minutes discussing and throwing out there into the world for people to hear as it comes up in conversation, because that is still a massive issue for all kinesiologists out in the community trying to build a brand and build a business and market what they do. And I feel like because that's their education stream, they might not even fully realize the value that they can bring, because many in the community may not know that a kinesiologist exists for them to hire, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you for bringing that up. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, it wasn't what you were expecting.
It never is, though, right? You log in, 6 days a week, and we never know what we're going to talk about, or, usually we have to stop ourselves. We talk for 25, 30 minutes before we actually hit play and start applying all this stuff that has given you, such a fantastic result. But I think it does have to come along with, I'm learning and you're helping me learn, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with you. And I'm learning that part of the reason why my program can be successful for people is because that human element is always there. I'm never rushing you to finish what you're doing or even be on time, right? I'm as flexible as you need me to be, and as I am with everybody. And perhaps the world needs a little more, human educated coaches who will just show up as a fellow human with grace and all the things so you can find success. But regardless of all the factors that are working so well for you, I'm just so happy that you're having success. And I very, very, very much look forward to logging in every day and seeing your shining face and guiding you through. It just brings me a lot of purpose and joy. And I would never be able to offer this to the people that I've offered it since you. And in the future, if it weren't for you and your efforts. So it just, like, obviously holding back tears is like so much more than the science, right? It's just, it's your life. It's your experience of how you're waking up every day not in pain anymore because we hung out together. And like, that is like so huge. Like, that's the goal, right?
You're now a household name among my family. Everybody's asking about when I'm going to see Angie. and then my sister will be like, I heard you and Angie talking about blah, 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 you know, because she can hear, like, you know, from the basement or whatever. And then we'll have a big conversation about it. So yeah, like everybody knows who you are in my life.
There's that girl on the computer again. Come on, Jamie, let's go. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Well, thanks for having this chat. I super appreciate it. We'll throw it up on the website to help explain to people what we do here at the Pringle P. Thank you for helping me explain it. And I'll see you tomorrow, right? You're here tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, yay. And we'll hear about Craig's trip to Scotland. I'm so excited about that. That'll be great. Nice. And we have Ashley and Haley as well tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Forward to it.
Yay. Okay, have a great day. Thanks, my dear.
You too. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.